Good morning and welcome to this webinar in which we will try to explain a number of practicalities related to the professional practice and the thesis topic selection. So this webinar is targeted to students that have started the IMBRSea program in September 2018. So what I will explain regarding the professional practices and also the thesis selection is, of course, only valid for this cohort. So I will share a presentation in which I will explain a number of items. And then after the webinar, you will be able to post questions. So please log in with your IMBRSea email account to the YouTube channel, because else you will not have access to the chat that is available there. Some people, Mercedes already has put a test message, so that ensures that the chat box is indeed working as it should. Okay, let me share my presentation with you so that we're okay. So you should now see the presentation. So we will focus today on two elements. So first, the professional practice, and then we will give some guidelines on actually the thesis topic preparation. So first of all, the professional practice. So what is the aim of the professional practice? As mentioned already before, it's the whole aim is that you get acquainted to what it is to work as a marine professional. So in this sense, it's important that you understand that although you might be doing some scientific research, for example, or supporting some scientific activities, it's not at all the aim that the outcome of this professional practice is, for example, a scientific report, and that this will also be evaluated. So what we are evaluating is, and how far you gain some skills that are important once you're on the work floor. So it's about team management. It's about actually the transferable skills and how you apply things that you learned throughout courses actually during the work. So important. So everything related to the professional practice will be monitored via the online platform that we designed for this. So the Matix platform, in which you have already an account, because you used also this platform actually to select your professional practice. Important, I would say, read all the documents, all the guidelines. So if you go to the website of IMBRSea and you go there to the professional practice page, there's a whole series of documents that explains, let's say, okay, how you do have to do certain things. Now, read them very carefully, and also make sure once you start your professional practice, for example, that your supervisor is also well aware on what the exact requirements are. There's a number of required documents you should be prepared before the start of your professional practice, and that's all related to ensure that you have proper insurance during your professional practice. The strange thing of a professional practice is that this falls under a completely different set of regulations that are more related to regulations of work people, so of actually doing work, and not related to issues on actual education. So that's also why we need, first of all, a professional practice contract. Yeah. And secondly, that there is a risk analysis is needed. A risk analysis, that will lead then to a medical advice, because all these risk analyses are sent to the university medical services here, and they check whether, for example, you need specific injections, or whether a certain extra medical checkup is required before you do the actual work. On the IMBRSea website, if you check the section on partners, in a minute I will show you where you can actually find this information. You can also check the health information for each specific country where you potentially will go for your professional practice. It's quite important to check this out before you start actually, or before you leave to the specific place where you will go. And then a final note on this is that it's extremely important to keep the start and end dates up to date. So in your professional practice portfolio, but also in your contract, you will set a certain date when you will actually start the professional practice and when you will end it. This should be up to date. This is just to ensure if you would start a few days earlier than what you indicated there, you will not be insured. So if something happens, a crazy accident, for example, on the way to the professional practice place, you're not insured. So this is extremely important that these dates are kept up to date. Now, this is the professional practice page on the IMBRSea website. Yeah. So if you go to information for students and there you check professional practice, at the bottom of this page, you will find, let's say, extra documents that kind of support this. Next to that, you may also receive updates via email, let's say, or updated documents will be uploaded, and also you will be informed on that if this would be the case. If you go to on the IMBRSea webpage and you check the section on partners, for example, you will get the full overview of the partners. And next to the country, you see also health info. And this leads to, for each country, to a page from the Belgian Tropical Institute, where they give and where they keep this really up to date as well. You see here, for example, I just opened the example for Indonesia, for example, the latest update on specific health issues is quite recent. So, and there you can check whether there is risks for specific things or not. So keep this in mind and check this page out before you leave to a specific country. Now, how is your professional practice evaluated? So the evaluation is based on 4 different elements. The first element can be considered as, let's say, the thing that will be continuously present during your professional practice. So there is an online reflective portfolio. In a minute, we will go to that portfolio, where you will be able to keep a number of things up to date and where you will be able to report, let's say, on a continuous basis on the things you are doing. You should see this reflective portfolio as a tool to help yourself to actually map out the things that you're doing and to map also for yourself whether you're achieving certain goals that you have set for yourself. For many people, this might be a completely new way of looking at a specific activity, but we learned from previous years, for example, that it's really a helpful tool. And also it helps us to evaluate actually what you've been doing throughout your professional practice, and not that we are evaluating just a final report, because else there is the risk that people that are good in writing reports get high grades, and people that are bad in writing reports, but had a fantastic period where they learned a lot of things, for example, would have a lower grade. So this is just to overcome this in part. So at the end, you will write also a report, which is quite condensed. And in this final reflective report, very important, you're only allowed to use things as proof, for example, that were already uploaded in your reflective portfolio. So if you do not keep up to date your reflective portfolio, it also will lead to a bad reflective report. So the things are really interconnected to each other. So the final reflective report is read by 2 independent readers. So they get the report with the proofs that you selected. In a minute, I will mention a little bit more on this. So that's kind of important. Then we will also ask the professional practice mentor, or supervisor, to give an evaluation on your performance and an adaptation to the working environment. And this will also influence, let's say, this whole part on the reflective portfolio. And then finally, during the annual symposium, there will be an exhibition organized. And at the exhibition, you have the possibility to actually present in an original, creative way something you've learned throughout your professional practice. During this annual symposium, you will also be interviewed by a reader or somebody from the IMBRSea universities, and be interviewed just to check out and to evaluate whether what you've written in your report really matches with what you're actually presenting during the practice. Now, what is the portfolio? As mentioned already, it's a tool which helps you to guide you through the whole process of the practice, and that allows evaluators to evaluate the whole process rather than the final outcome. And what is included in the portfolio, there's a separate movie from last year that you can watch as well on the portfolio, but I just summarize the whole idea is that you will define your personal objectives in this portfolio, that you will upload on a very regular basis proofs that you indeed are doing things to reach those personal objectives. There's timesheets. Note that these timesheets may sound as a burden, but this is also an obligation again from insurance, from the insurance company that is connected to Ghent University, just to ensure that you are present during certain days, for example, if something would happen, to see whether this matches. Timesheets need always approval, electronic approval from the actual professional practice supervisor. And then there's some special things, for example, a short report on start meetings, meetings, and end meetings. You will also interview a peer, so there will be a video interview where the aim is that you evaluate in a critical way what the other student is doing. And then you'll also be interviewed by us, by the IMBRSea coordination, where just to make sure, for example, that a number of elements related to your professional practice are carried out in a good way, also from the point of view of the receiving institute, and just to ensure that you are kind of treated in the best possible way. So this is to avoid that by the end of the professional practice, there are certain problems that are there, but that have never been tackled, and to ensure that there's proper follow-up on this. Okay. So a very short demo. I will now switch to another screen where you will see the professional practice portfolio. This is just an empty template, let's say, and with nonsense, as you can see here. So you will see something very similar as I'm logged in as an administrator. I get some more things. So important for your contract. The idea is that you download here the pre-filled contract. So that's one of the first documents that you need. And so automatically, this document will include all the fields, for example, on the institute, on your topic in this document. This document has to be signed by your professional practice supervisor. The signed version, it's your responsibility, not the one of your supervisor, that you upload the signed contract here again. If those documents are not there by the time you start, or by the deadline actually, you will not be allowed to actually carry out your professional practice, simply because you will not be insured, and we cannot take the risk and the responsibility of allowing you for an educational program to actually carry out this activity. So very important document, and the advice is, let's say from now on, that you can get in touch, and that you really make sure that your supervisor is signing this document. And then a second document is the risk assessment. So on the website, on the page I mentioned before, you can find the empty risk assessment. And that's also a document that there's two versions, one for people that are doing more desk work, and another for people that are doing more field or lab work, for example. And here you upload that risk assessment, also by the deadline that was mentioned before. This risk assessment and this contract are documents we are from the coordination sending to the medical services that do a checkup, and also to the insurance office of Ghent University. Okay. Next thing is when you start your professional practice, as I mentioned before, there will be an interview with you where we kind of do a follow-up, and you will be able to book an interview slot here on this page. This is not available yet, the different options where you can book for an interview, but we will inform you in due time once you can start booking one of these interview slots. And then if you look through the professional practice portfolio, there is, we split this up per week, yeah. And if you look at this, yeah, there is, for 6 weeks, let's say, a number of tasks identified. Now, some professional practices will take 8 weeks, some will take 10 weeks, and others will take 6 weeks. So then an often recurring question is, okay, what should we do if this does not match with our actually plan? The idea is that these weeks indications are kind of guiding time sets. So for you, it's so that it's clear that for you that you know what to upload. So it also means, let's say, if you look at a number of things, this is the kind of order that we expect those tasks in the portfolio to be completed. It's quite obvious that a report of the initial meeting, yeah, is uploaded as one of the first things, yeah, because during this, when you start your professional practice, there should at least be a meeting with your supervisor and with the institute where you discuss a number of things and what you will do. So that's the initial thing, yeah. And then you have a number of recurring things per week. So that's pictures that you just upload, can be whatever, yeah, pictures. And just a small reporting, for example, on learned skills. So if you felt that you learned something during that week, you can actually report on that. And then as well, a weekly recurring thing is the timesheets related to the insurance. Now, what's the aim of these three? These three will be the ones that you will be able to use in your final report. So every week you will be able to upload things here. You can keep it very limited to 2 pictures, for example. And for example, 1 learned skill, that's okay. So that keeps your work limited, but it means that you will have, if you do 6 weeks, in this case, you will have only 12 pictures to choose from to show as proof to your readers, and 6 small reports with a proof to show as proof that you have learned something. So feel free, let's say, to document things as you wish. Let's say in the end, it's only beneficial for yourself if you take this as serious as possible. Yeah. During the first week, you will also define your personal objectives. In a minute, I will say more on this. And a work plan. A work plan is just also kind of an outcome of this initial meeting, where you say, okay, during first week we will do this and this, the second week we'll do this and this. So you have an idea on what you will do. The advantage of such a work plan is that you can use it in a later phase to actually get back to your supervisor and say, look, you promised this and this and this, yeah, but in fact, we've done only this. Yeah, and you can use this work plan because that's something that's also approved by your supervisor in order to make sure that he really does what was promised for your professional practice. In the second week, we ask you to upload a description of the institute, and so the idea is that after the first week, you know where you are, and that you reflect on this part. And also during the second or the third week, for example, there will be the interview where you booked a time slot before with the IMBRSea coordination office. This interview, you will receive immediately also a report of this interview of the different questions and, let's say, action points, and you will get this as something you can work with. Somewhere during the third week, the idea is that you do then an interview of a peer. So for another student at another institute, for example, you will have a chat with this person and reflect, let's say, on a number of things he is doing for his professional practice. The idea behind this is that once you're later working in a marine environment, yeah, you will all be the same kind of professionals. You have the same diploma, but of course you will do different jobs. And this learns you to kind of evaluate the weight or the different options in a job, and also to learn from each other what actually should be done. So one can have a more desk-oriented internship, while somebody else can have a very field-oriented professional practice. But sometimes it's good to learn from each other and to be quite critical on that. In the middle of the professional practice, we assume you to have a kind again of a meeting with your supervisor, but it's also the moment where you can update a number of your originally set personal objectives. So it may become clear, for example, after 2-3 weeks, that some things that you thought that you would learn, are totally not achievable, but that some other interesting things might have be arisen. And so this is the moment where you can actually add on to your personal objectives that you can again later use during your final report. And then for the next coming week, exactly the same things. You can, it's just, I think, 1 hour per week that you should foresee, let's say, just to make sure that you report on everything. And then at the end, you will be able to upload a final report. Yeah. Now, in the additional weeks, if there's extra weeks after the 6 weeks, you're still able to upload these extra proofs. So there's at least the timesheets are really important that these are uploaded. But again, you can keep on reporting on your activities without extras, of course, that come into this. And then the final report, you will be able via this button, but that's will be only, let's say, active at the end, to select from all the learned skills and the pictures that you have uploaded, 10 annexes. So you will be able to select 10 for your actual report. And these will be also the annexes that will be sent then to your readers. So it's not the aim that we will send everything, because on a number of things you will get maybe negative feedback or feedback that there's improvement needed. So the idea is that there's a loop of quality improvement going on during the professional practice. But here you're still free to select, okay, this is now the best proof to show what I've really learned through my professional practice. Okay. So that as a short demo for the online portfolio, you should have access already to it. In case there would be still changes before the start of your professional practice, we will inform you about this, of course, and you will also see things potentially changing on your personal portfolio. Okay. Timelines. I think arrival and installation, very important. So you should confirm that you have arrived at your host organization by notifying us via the Matix platform during your first week. This is related, as mentioned before, to the insurance. It's minimal 6 weeks. Can be longer. The idea is that you do at least 240 hours. Some people might have, for example, 5 weeks, but this will implicate that you also work during weekends, probably. And this is you should make sure that this is confirmed that you reach the 240 hours as there is. And then portfolio deadlines, as mentioned before, and as I've shown, they can be slightly variable depending on the length of your professional practice, but respect the order of the tasks. So initial meeting, second meeting, final meeting. So this should be done as Now, what I project here are the professional practice learning outcomes that are translated, let's say, in 5 criteria that are then will be addressed during your final report. And so the first question for your final report will be describe how your professional practice experience has improved your professional competence. And so you see a number of examples here. Critically evaluate how they have contributed to your host's objective. You can read actually the others below here. So these are also, they are very strongly related to the learning outcomes of a professional practice. But in the same way, it's also these elements that in your final report you will actually document on. So keep this really in mind, because the moment you define your own personal objectives, it's important that you define them as such that you can actually do proper feedback on it. Okay, that as an intro to the professional practice. Deadlines for the 2 documents, as mentioned before. I just scroll back to this page. So the professional practice contract and the risk analysis, 15th of March 2019 for everyone. And then once you've started your professional practice, important to make sure that you keep the reflective portfolio on Matix really up to date. It should be kind of a tool like Facebook where you upload things that are relevant for you, but maybe Facebook not to share with your people, your friends, for example, but more to share with yourself and to make sure you can report in a good way on things in the end. Okay. Thesis work. Next thing that is coming up. Although you do your thesis only next year, next academic year, and you will start, let's say, around this period, early January, yeah, you should start thinking now already about, okay, what thesis do I want to do? Now, some guidance on selecting a topic, because that's the aim, let's say, in the next coming weeks and months. First of all, read the IMBRSea thesis guidelines. So you're very clear and set that you know exactly what are the expectations of a thesis. Yeah? This will also help you to identify whether certain things, for example, really fit within the aims of a master thesis. So the idea is that it's a research that you do. A research that can be anything, can be very variable. Yeah, but it should follow, let's say, the whole idea of how you define a proper research project. Yeah, check the research lines that were defined for each partner. You should have, or you will receive, an email with a link to the Matix platform again, where you will find everything that the partners have submitted so far. So we launched the call a few months ago to all the partners of the network, and some have answered very actively to this, whilst others have been a bit more reluctant on that. Important for you to know is that these research lines are just a guidance. They're not kind of a limited box, so this is very different from the professional practice. It's just guidance, so you know, if you look at a certain partner, for example, you see the research line. Okay, if a certain research line is there, it means this partner would really be very happy to receive one or a few thesis students, for example, within a certain research line. Now, a research line should be still a broad topic or a broader topic. So the aim is, let's say, in the coming months to negotiate with a certain supervisor a personal topic. So these research lines can be translated in really something more detailed for yourself. It could be also that several students go for the same research line and that during the negotiation process, several topics are distillated from this. Some advices on the actual topic. They should be marine. Yeah, sounds obvious, but every year we have questions and we have suggestions of people coming up with a topic of a researcher, for example, that is active in the program, yeah, but that is not necessarily a marine topic. So if you do genetic work, for example, that's an obvious example, yeah, it should be carried out on a marine organism, yeah, just to ensure that the link with actually the thematic scope, marine biological resources, is still guaranteed. Check the guidance requirements. So if you read through the thesis guidelines, we actually set there very clearly what a promoter should be and can be. So, so somebody that just graduated, yeah, without any kind of PhD or without any experience cannot be a promoter or supervisor. Yeah? Important that you check whether this supervision meets the requirements of the program. An advice for you, check also the scientific track record of the institute. So it's a research thesis. Yeah. If you go to an institute where there's no research being carried out, with no publication, with no output, with no really track record of what the institute is doing, you might end up in troubles for doing your actual research. And this is also during the annual symposium, for example, every topic is checked thoroughly. Yeah, and you will get feedback on a number of elements there. If there's no clear proof that this institute or this supervisor, for example, has experience, it might be that your topic is not accepted. Yeah? Define for yourself whether you want one or more supervisors. This is possible to have more people, let's say, involved in this. Just make sure, and that's always the thing, if you do something, make sure you're backed up by a good team and that you're sure before you start your thesis that you will be able, from the institute's point of view, to really finish the thesis also. Also, a good advice, discuss before something is signed with your thesis supervisor what the data and publication policy is of the institute and the supervisor. So if you manage to make a good thesis, for example, just to make sure that if there's publication coming out of it, at least you can be the co-author, for example, or the author, or that, so that you're very aware on what the possibilities are there, because they have a direct influence. For example, in case you want to continue in a scientific career, they have a direct influence on what you could do with this. Discuss also maybe future opportunities. What after the master thesis is this institute engaged in a lot of projects, for example? Do they have previous students that are doing PhDs, that are working at the institute? So those kind of things. Make sure you explain very well to your promoter that there is no kind of extra funding that they can apply for in order to carry out the thesis. So the supervisor or promoter should ensure that you can do all the activities during your thesis without additional funding, unless, for example, you agree in a different way. And of course, agree in a different way that extra funding comes from alternative sources not related to IMBRSea. A final quite important thing is that your insurance and enrollment during the thesis will happen via Ghent University. You're enrolled at Ghent University, and you're insured during the full thesis period at Ghent University. This has an implication also, and that's also well described in the guidelines, that insurance happens because it's related to your enrollment. This is during the final semester of the master program. So in case you would want to do activities for your thesis during the third semester, for example, which we do not at all kind of recommend, just make sure you will not be insured via UGent for these activities. You have to make sure that this is in line with the insurance regulations at the university where you will be at that time. In practice, it will hardly be possible to actually do these kind of activities during the third semester because, of course, courses are still ongoing. A thesis topic proposal. What do we expect when you propose a topic? A working title. I mention here working title because this is the first title and this is not the final title of your final thesis. So things can change towards a later phase. An abstract of what you will be doing. So it's the scientific description of the work. It's the research questions you will address, something on the methodology maybe, etc. So it's actually, if people read that abstract, they should know, okay, for your thesis, you will do this and this and this. And that's why it's important to do this thesis. Then also we ask for a work plan. A work plan. We are fully aware that you cannot say, okay, week 1, I will do this. Week 2, I will do this. But by the time you submit and after you have negotiated, you should know, for example, we will do fieldwork in month 1, for example, month 2. And during the fieldwork, we will take samples at 7 locations using certain techniques, for example. Then we will do these analysis using these techniques. And in the end, for writing a thesis, I foresee this or this amount of time. Why do we include this? Is again to be able to evaluate whether what you propose is feasible or not within the time frame and of the thesis. And often we ask, for example, if we see that there might be risks, to also we may ask for a plan B or C. In case you include this already in your original work plan, the chances of getting an immediate approval, of course, will be much higher. So what I mean, for example, in case you say, okay, we will conduct some interviews with fishermen, and on the basis of these interviews, we will do analysis A or B. In case you're not able to find these fishermen, what is your plan B? Where will you get the data, for example, and how are you sure that you will be able to do certain activities? The next thing is that we need the contact details, and that's an obvious one, of the supervisor and the promoter. And then finally, we need an agreement from the promoter, in order where he's satisfied, where he kind of signs off that he is able to welcome the student for a particular thesis subject. This is a contract because it's signed. This also means once you have the signed contract, once it's approved by the board, it's not at all easy to say, okay, I will go for another opportunity. So even there might be opportunities popping up, yeah. So it's important once it is assigned. Also, if you negotiate with different promoters at the same time, yeah, when this is signed, this is binding for you. Yeah, every year there are students that wish to change or want to change due to different reasons. So, but then, in case this happens, for example, due to illness or due to the fact that you cannot go to a certain location for a particular reason, for example, yeah, then there has to be an approval from, let's say, the promoter that he indeed is willing to kind of stop this contract with you and the program, for example. So keep this in mind. This is an important document, and it's also kind of a guarantee for the program that the promoter is really willing to do what he's promised. What is it? The timeline for the master thesis. So mid-January, the research lines are online. Then let's say the coming weeks, check, explore, talk, and think. I think that's important. Yeah, that you check out what are the different research lines. That you talk to different people. That you talk to teachers, for example. That just to ask advice on how to engage in this. And so, and then for these 2 deadlines, 15th of May is the first deadline. And that's for the people that wish to do a thesis at a non-IMBRSea partner institute. So if you look at the partners that are on the website and you wish to do a thesis at an institute that is not a partner there, you have to submit your topic already by the 15th of May. Yeah. Why that early? Simply because at the coordination office, we have to start up negotiations with the institute to see whether they will indeed agree to the requirements of becoming an institute, a partner institute of the master program. In case you do a thesis at one of the IMBRSea partner institutes, the deadline is only the 15th of June 2019. So about 1 week or 2 weeks before the actual annual symposium. Yeah. Important to keep in mind, if you negotiate on an own topic with an alternative institute, this institute has to become a partner before the thesis can be started. Yeah? How do you contact the supervisor? Mostly you will do this by email. And these guidelines here, or these recommendations, may be very obvious, yeah, but every year we see things happening, so that's why we kind of make them very clear here. So if you write an email to a potential supervisor you're interested to work with, describe who you are. Describe also in which program you are, because if you mention IMBRSea, some might know, even to people, let's say, that are a partner in this project, for example, or in IMBRSea consortium. Yeah, some of the researchers might know that they're a partner in here, but some alternative PhD student, for example, that is working there might totally not know that their institute is a partner in this project. So describe, yeah, that you are in the IMBRSea program, and also describe what the IMBRSea program is. Describe what you wish to do, and there, that's reflected to the last thing. Yeah, the previous slide, yeah, refer to a topic, a research line, a publication. So if you address a potential supervisor, make sure that he feels that you're really interested in the thing he is doing. And then if you make reference to a recent publication, for example, or a topic that where he was in the news or that you saw circulating somewhere on a platform, that immediately shows that it's not just a random email you're sending to this person. Use your IMBRSea email address to send this email, because this really shows to the supervisor that you're not just a random person, somewhere random available, but that you're really a member of this program. Use a proper and clear email signature. Yeah, add the logo if you did not do so, but just make sure that it looks professional. Provide immediately also a link to the thesis guidelines, or to the website, let's say on the IMBRSea website, where, let's say, thesis guidelines can be found. As such, the promoter or supervisor can immediately also check, yeah, under which conditions he is going to work potentially with you. And maybe also good is that you clearly set the timeline, so that in your original, in the first email, when you put to make contact, that you say that this is a thesis subject which is aimed for January to June next year, so 2020. If you do not receive answers after 1 week, and probably you will not, an advice is not getting in panic, but forward the original message, and add a kind reminder and see what happens. If nothing happens, then maybe it's good to check for collaborators of this research. If your researcher you're addressing is the head of an enormous research lab, it might be that it's better and more efficient to check with a collaborator that is or a PhD student or somebody. So check the organization model of the organization, and there to use the phone also to call a person or to call the secretariat to ask for an appointment or a chat. So a clear advice on this: start soon enough. This process can go very fast when you contact the supervisor, but can also go very slow. So just make sure by the deadlines we just mentioned that you're set with this. Okay, I will stop sharing my screen because these were the slides that I prepared for this part. So I will now have a look at the questions, let's say, on the chat. So if there's any questions, please feel free to post them now on the chat box. So for the chat box, you have to log in with your IMBRSea account, else you will not be able to post questions. First question coming in: will these slides be available? Of course, they will be available. We will upload them to the website. Also, this presentation, so the video of this presentation will be also uploaded on the IMBRSea YouTube channel. Actually, immediately after this broadcast, the video will be available there. And we will make a link from the page on professional practice and also on the page from the thesis guidelines or the thesis information. The question from Marine Courtois: if we haven't received any dates for the professional practice, I guess it is the right time to contact a supervisor to set up a schedule. No, to define when we are supposed to start and to end. Indeed, I think no, it's a time, because when you received the update which topic you were assigned, also the supervisors received the same information. It was just before Christmas, and many labs, researchers are simply not available during this period. That's also why we advised you to only start contacting them for the practicalities right now. So send them an email, refer to, same as with the thesis information, just make sure you're very clear on who you are, remind him on the whole thing, and ask maybe for a Skype, or you can also even use the Google Meet. That's also possible, the same thing that we use in order to get in touch with the person. And then another question: is it common to continue the work done on professional practice on the thesis? It's a tricky one. Yes and no. It's common because during a professional practice you will learn some skills, but a professional practice cannot be part of the thesis because it's two separate units. So it cannot be that you say, okay, that your supervisor says, look, during professional practice you will already work out samples A to B and do all the field work, and then during your thesis you could just continue on that. That's not possible. You can learn a certain technique during your professional practice, for example, how to work on a fatty acid analysis, perfectly possible. And that during your professional practice, your supervisor says, look, I have a perfect thesis subject maybe for you next year, where we look at the certain food web analysis on the basis of these fatty acids, for example, and then you can apply this technique during your thesis. So this will be something that is checked also thoroughly when you submit both, that there is a clear difference between both elements. More questions? There's a question from Francesco. Do we have any information on when and how will the evaluations of Ancona will be carried out? Yeah, this is a question maybe not directly related to the professional practice, but the idea is also for Ancona that everything, including exams, are done before the end of the period you are in Ancona. So there's no exams anymore after the professional practice, if this is an answer to your question. I contacted the local supervisor, so yeah, so you can, after the period that is also advertised on the website, you can start up your professional practice there, and normally there's no tasks anymore. Same, let's say I contacted the local supervisor, maybe it's good to use the same advice as for the contacting a thesis supervisor. Just contact him again, put the IMBRSea coordination office and copy of your question. Yeah, and then if he doesn't answer, let's say, immediately, we'll also bring this on the next program board, which is scheduled, I thought, in next week somewhere. Yeah. Can we find the practicalities and needs for becoming a partner on the website? Answer is yes. If you go to the front page of the website, on the right-hand side of the website, there is a button, Become a Partner. Yeah, and if you click that button, you're brought to a page that explains all the things that you should know or that a partner should know before considering to become a partner. So the front of the website, so imbrsea.eu, on the right-hand side, there's a button for applying to the program, yeah, but there's also one on becoming a partner. Any more questions? If no more questions are coming in, let's say in the next 2 or 3 minutes, we will close this broadcast. And then, let's say if you would have additional questions, you can still contact us in order to see how we can answer them. For those that would be watching, note that the applications for students that wish to apply to the program for next academic year are open until the 1st of March. We have already quite a lot of people that are applying, but still it's maybe useful that you as current students of the program also advocate on this. So if you have people you know of, feel free to still advertise for this and to spread this message. Okay, let's see. No more questions are coming in. Sorry, there's one. Is there any information on the students that already graduated, on where they are, what are they working on, etc.? Okay, this is quite a separate question, but in this context, I can answer that we are preparing actually right now a new proposal for an update and for continuous funding from the EU for IMBRSea. And one of the things we're doing there is actually doing now a survey on the graduates of the IMBRSea program, where we will get an update on this information. And so once this is in, we can also share that information with you if you wish. There is also a LinkedIn group on IMBRSea. Maybe we should share that also with you. Normally it's only for graduates, but that's also a way to find out where people are. And I also see an information message from Jeppe from Bergen University. So IMR in Bergen, quite an important partner there for conducting different types of research. Will probably also become a professional practice partner, let's say, in the future. But also for thesis work, for example, they might be an interesting partner to have a look at. Okay. If no more burning things coming up, then I will close this session here. Thank you for watching, and I hope it was informative, and I wish you hereby a lot of good luck. There's still a question coming in. Yeah, sorry. Is it possible to conduct research outside the research outline of a partner? Yes, perfectly possible. So the research lines are just the suggestions from a partner on where they wish to receive thesis subjects on. But of course, it's still open to you if it is something new coming up outside of the list that is submitted there. Perfectly possible. Yeah, just make sure it's blue, it's marine, yeah, and that it's research or it's proper thesis. But apart from that, it's full freedom. Okay. Then we'll close now the broadcasting. So thank you very much, and good luck with thesis and professional practice in the coming months. And in case of problems, don't hesitate to contact us via the different media we're using. Thank you, and bye-bye.